Hey, what's up? How's it going? The year is now over, or almost over, and I've pretty much finished all of the games I could. This year was much later gaming-wise, as I've barely used my Switch, and only beat a couple PlayStation games. As usual, all the games I play are good, some better than others though, so these will be my top 10 plus 1 games I've played this year. Some are new releases, others are remakes, and others are even older. This is my personal list, and this year I missed out on many of the biggest games released. Because of that, this list has mainly been made up of older titles that I played for the first time this year. This is my list, so let me know yours in the comments below, and if you agree or disagree with any of my picks, also let me know. I'd love to hear any feedback. I started this channel this year about 5 months ago, so most of the games on my list I've made videos on, while others I've written scripts for and will work on in the new year. I've really enjoyed trying this YouTube thing this year, so I'll be continuing it next year. Some housekeeping before I get into the honorable mentions, and then the actual tier list. I've got a ton of scripts currently in the works for January. A few I wanted to put out before Christmas and then the new year didn't pan out, so they'll be released afterwards. Multiple of the games on my list are titles that will have videos later on. I also wanted to mention and add, I truly feel incredibly happy to have had the opportunity to do this channel. I normally say like, comment, subscribe at the end of videos, but I thought I'd mention it here too before I get into the actual list. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get into my placements. First, I want to go over some honorable mentions. I have 3, maybe more in editing. Star Ocean 2, The Second Story R, Owlboy, and Kingdom Hearts 1. I already have a video about Star Ocean 2, you can watch it if you want, but it's a really enjoyable game with a very competent remake. But the story and gameplay weren't on the same level as my other games in the top 10. Same goes for Owlboy. It was on my list for the longest time, then I played something else. Also, Owlboy is really high quality, and I highly recommend it. I just think the time since release has sort of buried the game. Still, go play Owlboy. Kingdom Hearts 1 is also pretty good, but because I didn't make a video for it, I felt a little weird putting the title higher up. Especially because I was meaning to make a retrospective on it and simply couldn't figure out how to write one. As a game, it's aged pretty poorly in certain points too. Still a very fun collab between Disney and Square. I also recommend it a lot. While I haven't started my list yet, I want to give a shout out to the Fallout TV show. I love the show so much and I can't wait for season 2. This isn't a game, but it was based on one, so that should be fine. If you haven't seen the Fallout show yet, go and watch the full season on Amazon Prime. Fantastic adaptation and really high quality television too. There's a reason why it won the best adaptation award at the Game Awards. Now for my top 10. My 10th favorite game I played this year had to be Bayonetta Origins: Cereza and the Lost Demon. Last year I played through the entire Bayonetta mainline series, and this year I played through this one. Bayo Origins is a legitimately underrated game. I meant to make a video on it, but it got scrapped in the writing phase. From every aspect, story, gameplay, music, and graphics, Cereza and the Lost Demon is an incredible game. The gameplay takes some time to get used to, similar to Astral Chain, but once you get the feel of it and understand how to control both characters at once, the game opens up a lot. Frankly, the game is just fun, on top of a really enjoyable prequel to Bayonetta. If this game ends up being the final Bayonetta game, I'll be sad, but I won't mind, because it's a good farewell to the series. At 9th place, I have another Nintendo game. This placement is more of a pity placement. It was the first game I played this year, the first one I beat, and technically it's 2 games. And technically they aren't that incredible. But I had a lot of fun with them, enjoyed the story, and liked the vibes of them. Of course, I'm talking about the criminally underrated and undersold Another Code Recollection. I know Nintendo and Arc System Works, the team behind these remakes, botched the final product in certain ways. However, I still liked them. For these 2 games, Trace Memory and Another Code R, they're both great stories. The first game in the package is really fun, while the second is very much less of a puzzle game and more of a typical visual novel. The base Wii version was a puzzle game. This remake removed most of the puzzles. Like I said, this is a pity placement more than anything, because these are imperfect games. But personally to me, I thought that both of them were enjoyable enough to warrant some placement on my list. In 8th is Final Fantasy VIII, a game I just literally wrapped up playing earlier in the week. As such, the video on it has also been written, and I'll be putting it out sometime in February. I don't want to say too much as it would ruin the video, but I loved Final Fantasy VIII. I specifically played 2019's remaster, which itself is a fantastic version of the game, playing smoothly with great quality of life additions, and has a long list in fact, of graphical improvements. The big reason I loved Final Fantasy VIII was its story, which I go into in my video for it. The romance between Squall and Rinoa is the highlight of the game by far, as everything else is based around supporting this one element, which Final Fantasy VIII excelled at. I highly recommend the game if you haven't played it. I wouldn't have bought it if I hadn't bought the EU copy as well. Thank God it went on sale. The 7th best game I played this year was a bit of a toss-up. Initially I wanted to tie Mario & Luigi Brothership here alongside Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remake, but Brothership missed the landing. Thousand Year Door on the other hand didn't. I had issues with TTYD, I think it's pretty overhyped generally speaking, but the remake has stuck with me since playing it. Speaking solely on this year's remake, graphically this is the height of Paper Mario. Musically, this is the height of the series. Same for gameplay and characters. There's yet to be a Paper Mario game better than Thousand Year Door, and because there isn't, I have to put this one here. The characters of Thousand Year Door are a highlight, Goombella especially. It's just a very fun game from Nintendo, and probably their best title release this year, aside from what will be higher up. I've debated this too. I don't believe this is the 6th best game I've played this year, but it is the most addictive in a sense. I'm talking about Rise of the Ronin from Koei Tecmo and PlayStation. There's something about Koei Tecmo games, they have this ability to get me hooked, as evident by Rise of the Ronin. I picked it up on Black Friday, and immediately started playing it. I finished it pretty recently too. The video is already written and should be out sometime soon. Rise of the Ronin is another imperfect game. Fundamentally, it's been levied with critiques of being a PS3 game. It's been called this quite a few times, but I love PS3 games, so this is a plus for me. The story was familiar, but I was singularly invested in my Veiled Edge's journey. But more so, I was invested in the schemes of Ryoma, who is very clearly the best character of the year. Look, this is probably the best story I played this year, maybe? I don't think 5th place is low for the game, but it is where I have Vanilleware's 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I just ordered Unicorn Overlord because it got pretty cheap. Earlier on in the year though, I beat 13 Sentinels. The story has often been described as only capable of being told through gaming, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Either way, the story is incredible. When I beat the game, I was a little lost. I thought I should check for videos explaining the story, and there weren't any. I should have made one. If I had this channel back then, I would have. In all honesty, the easiest way to describe 13 Sentinels is as Vanillaware's masterpiece, and if that line isn't enough to sell it to you, then you'll likely miss out on one of the best stories told in any video game, period. A massive pro of 13 Sentinels are each of the unique characters and how their disparate stories combine together. One of the best moments of the year was connecting all of them. The worst moment was having to wait through the combat mode to continue on in the story. Combat is really fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I wanted to see what was next for Ryoko Shinonome, Jiro Kurabe, Yuki Takamiya, Tomiki Saragi, and the rest of the cast, alongside them. Visually too, I can't say more than that, just look at the screen right now. I made a video on this game, and currently the video is my most viewed upload on my channel, minus a Mario clip. Yes, this is about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Check the video out if you want to hear my full thoughts on the game, though the audio is messed up along with a large number of my older uploads. Everything about The Lost Crown is amazing. As a Metroidvania, it has set the newest quality standard for the genre. Not solely for Metroidvanias, but I'd argue for countless other genres as well. The accessibility features alone, which were recognized at the Game Awards, the gameplay of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a highlight for me, but I also enjoyed the story. There was something about the gameplay, however, that was severely focused on being a fun game. 2024 may go down in history as Ubisoft's worst year ever, or at least of the 2020 decade. But no matter what you can say, this was their light in the dark. Ubisoft may drop mid into eternity, but at the very least we received a stellar Prince of Persia 2D game in between. In 3rd place, I've got yet another Atlus title. This was their year, though I played 0 new releases from them. As opposed to playing Persona 3 Reload, instead I opted for Persona 3 Portable, so I didn't hear any spoilers leading to the remake's release. I'm still waiting for P3R to go cheap enough, but I did really like the story of this one. This was one of the games I wanted to make a video on. I was so close to writing an essay about the story, love, loss, and all the other meanings within it. I only didn't because I had other duties at the time. P3P is not the best version to play, but it was the one I played, and it was the one that tore me up. I'm not spoiling anything. Please, find a way to play Persona 3. Somehow. I'm not the biggest fan of the new voice acting in the remake, considering the quality of the earlier versions. Frankly, I'm tired of the same voice actors being in every Japanese game, or Japanese English dub. But if you have to play that version, you should. The pros of P3P are of how quickly you can beat it. There's very little fluff, because it's a portable demake of a PlayStation 2 game. I think it took me around 42 hours or so to beat it, and I did a ton of side content too. In any other year, P3P would have been my game of the year, but this year was a little bit special. 2nd place is not the 2nd best game I played this year, but I'm a biased man, and I had to put Zelda somewhere. This was the placement I had the most debate with myself over. Inevitably, my heart went out, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom became ranked 2nd. I'm a true blue Zelda fan. They could drop another rhythm game and I'd buy it. I loved that game too. Echoes of Wisdom is such a high quality title. I know to many it wasn't perfect, but to me it was. Echoes of Wisdom was everything I wanted from a new 2D Zelda game, let alone everything plus some of what I dreamed of a game starring playable Princess Zelda could have been. As said in my video, Echoes of Wisdom is Zelda at its greatest. It is Zelda in its purest form of fun, with all of the tertiary elements at their prime alongside it. Okay, here's the final one, the big reveal, my favorite game I played this year. It's Final Fantasy XVI, and Life is Strange. Final Fantasy XVI was my game of the year for the longest time. The reason I bought a PS5 was because FF16 dropped low enough in price alongside a rare console sale this year. FF16 has one of the best stories in Final Fantasy and some of the best gameplay in the series. It's also got some of the best music. However much I loved Final Fantasy XVI though, I also adored Life is Strange. Because I loved both games so much, they're tied. If it makes you feel better, Life is Strange is my favorite story of the year, as there isn't much game there, and FF16 is my favorite game of the year. Part of the reason for the tie is because I started this channel to make a video on Final Fantasy XVI. I had writer's block because I couldn't figure out how to put all of my thoughts on the experience into words. If I made the video, FF16 probably would have been my GOTY. Because I didn't, it resulted in this tie. The other aspect to why Life is Strange 1 is here is because I spent the better part of 2 months on this one game. From playing through it, and taking 2 weeks, to writing an essay, a week and a half, to editing the essay, another week, to scrubbing through 12 hours of footage, so many more weeks, to finally recording and editing the thing. I still haven't uploaded the video because of how personal it became to me. I don't want to release the thing yet, because I want the final video to be even more special. I'll go into Final Fantasy 16 here. Final Fantasy 16 is a perfect game to me. Yes, you may have had problems with it, but I did not. I loved every single moment of the game. Yes, this is Hallway Fantasy 16, but I don't care, I loved those hallways. The combat is so fluid. No, it's not as good as Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, but I don't care. This is Final Fantasy. And sure, it isn't turn-based, but I also played a turn-based Final Fantasy this year. Divided 16 by 2, and that's the one I played. Final Fantasy 16 is a special game to me. I've entirely branded my channel around this game. It's in my banner, my profile picture, my end video screen. FF16 might be my favorite Final Fantasy game. If it isn't, I have it as a razor-thin second to whatever my number 1 is. Is Final Fantasy 16 even Final Fantasy? Who knows, but I could not care less. What it is a magical experience. The story of Clive, his final sacrifice, was unforgettable. His love of Jill and their reunion was a moment of the year for me. A moment, one of the best moments of many. My scrapped video for Final Fantasy 16 was going to be called How Final Fantasy 16 Was Life-Changing. I don't know if FF16 was really life-changing, but what the game did change was my outlook. I had a decent year, but it got better after I played this game. Thinking about Final Fantasy 16 now makes me think of a better time. Please play it. The game has become so cheap at this point, and also it's available on PC now too. You're missing out if you haven't purchased this masterpiece yet. How do I rationalize having 2 number 1 games this year? The truth is, I can't, and I don't think it's remotely possible for me to even attempt to. What I also want to attempt to do is describe why Life is Strange meant so much to me. There's a whole video on this topic that should be out sometime soon. What I will say here is, similar to Final Fantasy 16, I love the characters of this world. In FF16, I adored Clive and Jill. I didn't even mention Sid or the countless great side characters in the side cast. In Life is Strange's case, I adored Max, Chloe, Kate, and the entire cast, without Victoria, Mark, Jefferson, or Nathan. This might have been the year where I fell in love with game characters, more than games. Sure, I really liked the cast of FF7, Crisis Core, Zelda, P5R, FETH, FE3H, I should say, and all sorts of other titles, but this year were some of the best gaming had to offer to me. Life is Strange has one of the best stories in gaming, with many of the best characters of its generation. Chloe, David, and Frank's individual redemption are truly well told. Max's kindness and humanity was simply real. Both of these games are individually significant to me. Both are hard to talk about. Because of this, they are my favorite games I've played this year. And with that, certainly are also up there with my favorite games of all time. It is weird to have 2 games at the top of my list, not from this year. And there are some I've bought that'd be there when I play them. Unfortunately, I haven't yet. I felt left out of the modern gaming industry for a while now, but I wound up playing a ton of new releases regardless. I also want to say here that if you're watching and wondering where games like Stellar Blade or some other releases are, there's a good chance I haven't played them yet. And in the case of Stellar Blade, I'm playing through it right now. I'm at the final part of the game but couldn't push making this video off any further. I have actually enjoyed Stellar Blade a lot. The only reason it isn't here is because I already made the list, and I didn't want to change it a 3rd time. Replace Bayonetta Origins or another code R, move that one down a slot, and I think that's a fair enough placement for Stellar Blade. I'll have a video on Stellar Blade at some point, maybe even 2 depending on the story's ending, and if I play through it again on New Game Plus. I hope you enjoyed my list. Did I miss all of the big games this year? Some of the biggest that came out in a long time? I already know I did, but tell me below what you'd recommend I try next year, or if there's anything on sale I should pick up, so I can throw them on my list for next time. With that said, like, comment, subscribe, or check out the video on screen right now, or the playlist in the corner, for all of the videos I've made on as many of the games on my top 10 as possible. If you want to see more from me, you can check those out. I hope you have a good day, and thank you truly for watching.